early, where we have free time for both expeditions prior to the official expedition program beginning. We'll have a couple of set options that folks can opt into, and most likely including a visit to what's called the Monkey Temple, and then for where there is time, perhaps a trip out to Bhaktapur. So beyond that, we can offer suggestions to people and help find something that suits their interests, but we'll be planning most likely those two things. And then depending upon people's arrival times and how much time is available for the group, helping to facilitate that. So we'll have a couple of options in place, and we'll share those with the group so that people can decide what they'd like to do if they've got a little bit of time before we start officially.
Okay. Now, my other question is, how much cash do you think we should get from the airport, and what do you think will be sufficient for the course of our trip, our week?
That's a great question. I like to recommend a couple $100 US just in case, because even while we are traveling on the roads, as we stop off to take bathroom breaks, there's places to buy snacks and things. Sometimes in the village, an opportunity we didn't expect to perhaps buy some artisan-made handcrafts can arise, and it'd be nice for folks to have rupees on them. On our last trip, somebody had made some beautiful wooden like yogurt pots and things that we weren't expecting, and so it's great for folks to be able to buy those if they'd like. So I recommend having, anywhere from maybe between 100 and 200. Things aren't that pricey here because things like hotels and meals are, paid for once the expedition begins. But I just think it's nice to have some rupees in your pocket, and then be sure to exchange those that are left over at the airport. It's tough to do that once you get stateside again.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Phil Saris. I have a quick question for you.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, how are you? So my question is, in the money conversation, do any of these vendors normally accept U.S. money or currency, or you definitely recommend that we switch it out for rupees?
I do. It's been rare, perhaps in some of the very, very large chain stores they might, and once in a while when you're bargaining in the tourist area of Tamil, but I wouldn't plan on it. Again, if one or two people need to exchange some US dollars at the hotel does try to offer that service for us, but if all 40 of us try, that is really difficult. I recommend having rupees. It just makes things a lot easier, and it would just be a shame for somebody to miss out on an opportunity because they had US cash but not enough rupees. So I definitely recommend exchanging at least a few or getting some from an ATM.
Okay, so as a quick follow-up to that question, the ATM is where we do the exchange. So if we have U.S. currency in our hand, we don't necessarily withdraw. We don't have to use a debit or a credit card at the ATM. We can bring the currency with us and put it into the ATM, and then the currency there comes out. Is that how that works?
No, if you were bringing U.S. cash, that would be to use at an exchange counter, either at the airport or at the hotel. The ATMs here are simply withdrawals. They simply withdraw from your savings or checking account. I have Wells Fargo as my bank, and I'm able to use the ATMs here to simply withdraw from my checking account using my debit/ATM card. It works pretty smoothly. I would just, again, recommend that folks give their financial institutions a quick heads up just to make sure that there's no fraud alerts that go into effect. I let my bank know, and I've not had any issues, and I've been here about 7 weeks now, so it's been just fine.
There are local change houses that you can use too, if you have cash.
Okay. Does the hotel offer that service?
Yeah.
They do, but I have been there when they have run out of rupees, because they do a high volume of business and they try to offer us excellent customer service, and they really do, but they sometimes do run out of cash. So that's why we're recommending that, with our group being 44 in total, that folks make use of those ATMs early on in the trip so that we're not all relying on the Shambhala front desk to exchange for us.
Is there a limit on the ATM what you can withdraw?
Yeah. in Kathmandu, particularly in the backpacker areas, the tourist areas, there are lots of ATMs available. Is there one near Shambhala, near the hotel?
There is, but I think it being that we will be coming in large waves and some folks are coming quite late at night, I still recommend that if folks can do it at the airport, that they do that there, at least to have some in their pocket until they can, make a withdrawal later on in their trip.
And a $300 limit or a $400 limit or
Floor.
The banks, unfortunately, the banks here do vary. And so there are some that limit you to the equivalent of about 150 US per transaction. But I've generally been able to get the equivalent of 200 US at a time. And that's not been an issue using one of the major banks like Nabil or Siddhartha. And so you're generally able to get about 200. And unless you're planning on doing a lot of cash shopping, that should be sufficient. That will come out to approximately 20,000 Nepali rupees. It's roughly, move the decimal point about 2 places, just roughly for an estimate. So
a rupee is about equal to a penny. So 100 rupees is $1, more or less, right?
Correct.
And one thing I would also throw out with respect to currency exchange is you can also pre-exchange some money at your departing international airport, usually fairly easily as well. That can oftentimes just be a little less stressful. You're not arriving, you're not trying to sort out a lot of things. So depending on where you spot your last currency exchange, I encourage people, if they know they're going to exchange some cash, to go ahead and do some of that there. You're typically in a much more navigable environment that's a little more predictable. So if you see one, don't be shy and go ahead and do that there as well.
And just ask them. Some of the large airports might offer Nepali rupees. A lot of the
Usually.
services don't, but it's absolutely worth checking when you're flying through those international airports, just see if they can do that for you.
I think in terms of shopping, if you're doing major purchases, typically the vendors in the tourist areas can handle credit cards. So
Absolutely, they can.
With cash.
Yes,
And
that's true.
If you do carry dollars and you want to do transactions in Tamil and the tourist areas, you'll end up they'll get you on the change rate. They'll give you a much worse change rate than you will at the ATM. So you can shop a lot of times with US dollars, but they'll get you.
Yeah. I recommend having rupees or a credit card with you for that.
Hey, sorry, I just had to laugh because I'm just reading these notes and I saw your thing about you will not be carrying your luggage miles and miles up Everest.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Hey, I do have a question, and maybe I should read through these things first, but sorry, I just got back to my office. But so I went to Ghana last year, and this sounds a little bit rougher than Ghana. Because it sounds like we're like hiking in and kind of camping out. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that. I mean, I'm cool with it. I just...
Well, so for camping, think of it as camping, but indoors, meaning we are not going to be in tents. We'll be in schoolrooms that have been prepared for us. And we won't be hiking in. Our bags, anything big like that, the buses that we're on, we'll get them in nice and close to the school. And what we'll do is, as we approach the school and see where the village has set up its welcome spot, that's where we will typically get off of the bus so that we can walk in with members of the community as they welcome us. So it's typically a walk in, and then just being able to sort out our bags and such there on the back end after they've been unloaded by the bus. So the conditions feel a lot like camping, but you're not going to be hauling your bag in, and you'll be in an actual building, and you will be using squat toilets, but those are also actual porcelain fixtures that are part of the school bathroom facilities. So it'll be a bit rustic compared to the hotels where we are, but I think it'll be fun for everybody. I think that just saying that we're camping indoors should help people kind of set their expectations for what that will be like. And the meals will be prepared for us by we've got this incredible cooking team, and so we'll eat kind of mess hall style, and it should be really enjoyable those days in the village.
Veronica, can you add a little bit of context for how we'll be broken up as a group in the schoolhouse and kind of how we generally approach that. And then maybe also just put into context how many nights we will be in the classroom versus in hotels. Good.
Absolutely. Sure.
While they, maybe different than here, are certainly a far cry from camping, which is nice.
Sure. So for the group that's starting in April, we're going to a village called Garambesi. We'll be sleeping there 2 nights. The second group will be in a village called Archelani. We'll be there 3 nights. And what we've done based on the availability of open classrooms for us to use, we're working with one of your colleagues there who does global events, Alyssa, for doTERRA, and we're taking a look at the group. We've got some parents coming with kids, we've got some couples, and we've got some people who are traveling as a party of 1. And so we'll take a look at what makes the most sense as far as grouping those entities together. Typically, as it makes sense, we'll have some quarters set aside for men, some for women, and then as appropriate, keeping some family units together as they wish. So we have a minimum of 4 large classrooms available for the first trip. So I'm working closely with Alyssa to compose groups that make sense for that. And we'll have a few more when we get to Archelani. So again, we're just trying to be sensitive to any special requests that have come in and making sure that people, in as much as possible, have adequate space, privacy, and can be comfortable during those couple of nights there in the village. So we're staying at a lovely hotel while we're in Kathmandu. We stay at kind of a fun riverside resort that's, I'd say, a little bit more rustic on the way. And then when we're in Chitwan, we stay in a park lodge that's, again, a little bit, I would say a little bit more rustic. You may see, a mosquito net from the ceiling, hanging from the ceiling, and the Wi-Fi signal won't be quite as steady, but it's, a little park lodge. And then we ultimately end back at the Shambhala Hotel in Kathmandu. So I think you should be comfortable. I think the camping indoors should be comfortable as well. And yeah, a maximum of 3 nights.
So do we get back to the hotel in Kathmandu on Saturday night?
Let's see. So which trip are you on?
I'm in May. I guess my real question is, I heard that my particular church meets at that same hotel, and I'm interested in that if I'm there. So I'm curious if I'm there Sunday or Saturday.
I know that the LDS Church does offer services there. I believe they are at 10 a.m. And so our group will be arriving back to Kathmandu by probably 12 noon because our charter flight leaves Chitwan mid-morning.
Oh, okay.
I have kind of a pesky request. I'm vegan, and when I went to Ghana, I really pretty much didn't get to eat. So I I mean, I got to eat a little bit, but not really.
Okay, and so Jacqueline, you said you're vegan, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let me make a note of that. Our team has indeed accommodated vegan expeditioners before, so this is something with which they will be familiar. So I'm very glad that you mentioned that. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Jacqueline, can you please remind me, are you the April group or are you the May group?
May 1st through 8th.
Great, thank you.
So we have another group going soon?
So we have a group that goes April 25th, and most of them fly out May 1st, and then the group that's arriving May 1st and then departs May 8th. So we're excited. We're really lucky. We get 2 back-to-back groups of doTERRA people, which makes us very happy. We love doTERRA folks.
Well, I was thrilled they did an extra trip because I wanted to go and just found out a few weeks ago I could go. So.
Wonderful. Good. We're excited that so many people are able to take advantage of this opportunity.
So probably people asked the question already, but cell service,
it's a great question. Depending on your phone and your carrier, you may be able to get by with an international plan. If your phone has a removable SIM card, you may wish to pursue a local SIM card here, and you can do that quite close to the hotel. You will need to bring with you a copy of your passport and an extra passport photo. This is in addition to the passport photo you need to buy your visa. So bring at least 2 if you're wanting to buy a SIM card, and then the shop can sell you a local SIM card. You can get that installed, and then once they get that program in their computer, you will be able to access the local cell phone network. That being said, coverage, even though I use a local cell phone here myself for texting and local calls, there are places where even I can't get coverage. Sometimes in spots of the village, it's, you just can't get it. So that can increase some people's likelihood of being able to have uninterrupted service here, but just be advised there are some places where coverage is spotty.
Do you know how expensive that is?
The SIM cards for tourists, they tend to charge a bit more. I want to say it's, oh goodness, I've not purchased one myself because my iPhone has a permanent one, but I want to say it's not more than $10 US, it may be less. I know for me to buy a SIM card for a local phone like this, it's about $5 US.
And we do that in the village?
No, ma'am. That would be purchased at a shop in Kathmandu near the U.S. Embassy, which is a couple of blocks from our hotel. So that would need to be done prior to leaving Kathmandu, prior to going to the village. You'd need to walk down to that shop across from the embassy and do that there.
Okay.
And one thing I will just add too, your leaders will have some cell phones on hand, and as will our in-country team. And so in the event that family needs to reach you, you all should have received an email with some contact information, and we will resend just prior to the trip. So you can give that information to your family. So in the event of anyone needing to get a hold of you, that's just a phone call away. And there's a fun exercise and opportunity, particularly this day and age. It's very rare to be able to disconnect, and we find that these experiences are so conducive to letting everyone unplug, even for just a few days, particularly while you're in the village. And so I think you'll all find that it's easier and more natural to do that the minute you land in Nepal. And we always encourage everyone to absorb that full force and really give the group kind of that opportunity to be really present. And we will have all the technology that everyone might need should any issue arise.
I think that's okay from my end because I know where I am, but people here at home are more concerned about being able to contact me.
Sure.
And make sure that I'm still alive and well.
Yeah.
And one little hack that people might not know is that if you've got a smartphone, well, in particular an iPhone, so this is my iPhone from home, I keep it on airplane mode while I'm here. And whenever I have access to Wi-Fi, I'm able to, even on airplane mode, I message any other iPhone basically in the world. So for staying in touch with, my friends and family in the US, when I have Wi-Fi, I do that with this, just through an iMessage or WhatsApp or something like that. So I haven't even needed to get an international plan nor use a local SIM card. And that's worked really, really well. So if you have an iPhone and want to just be able to text another iPhone, you can simply use Wi-Fi and keep it in airplane mode. That works pretty well too.
But there isn't such a program for non-iPhone people?
That I don't know. I do not know. You can probably use WhatsApp or something like that if you have a non-iPhone. Just make sure that the people with whom you want to communicate also have that application installed. And you can also message through Facebook, any of those messaging apps where you just need to be online. You can generally do that while you're still in airplane mode and just using the Wi-Fi signal. So that's, as a quick check-in, hi, I'm back from the village, had a great time here at the hotel. I mean, if you need to be checking in with family, that's also an option for you to pursue.
There's another service besides WhatsApp. Do you guys know what that is that you can call internationally or text?
I know that there's Viber. It's
Viber. Thanks.
Okay, so yes, Viber and WhatsApp tend to be used fairly often here.
So it's VYBER?
I think it's VIBR. Let me check. I do have that one installed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, VIBER. It's a little purple icon with a telephone on it.
Okay, thanks.
How do you spell Archelani?
ARCHALENI.
Okay, cool.
It sounds like we will have internet at the hotel.
Yes, you will have internet service at Shambhala that's fairly reliable, and even at the other hotels at Riverside Springs and at the lodge in Chitwan, there is Wi-Fi, but it isn't as robust a signal, and so your best Wi-Fi service is going to be, as far as hotels are concerned, will be at the Shambhala Hotel in Kathmandu.
So I have a question. I'm going to be there about a day and a half early, and then I'm going to be there a couple days after. And looking at different, activities and things to do. Is it at all feasible to stay in Chitwan? It looks like it's an amazing park. And is there a way to get transportation back to Kathmandu? I know we're on a chartered airplane, but is there a bus that goes there, or?
We generally would like for the expedition group to stay together for the duration of our programming. Chitwan is a good 7-8 hours away from Kathmandu. It doesn't look that far as the crow flies, but as far as ground transportation back, just because of how the roads are here, it's a lengthy trip back. So our preference is that the group all stay together, and as you mentioned, we'll be taking a charter flight. So as they're wishing to, maybe return. It's about a 30-minute flight versus about a 7 or 8 hour drive. So hopefully that's helpful. And so we'll be taking advantage of some really wonderful opportunities while we're there in the park, though. We'll get to see how the park there supports the kind of birth and life cycle of elephants in that area. We'll have the opportunity to kind of canoe down the river there and just take advantage of some of the natural and cultural opportunities as a group while we're there in Chitwan.
Awesome. What do you recommend then as in terms of things to do in Kathmandu? Are there different reputable sort of tours? Is it safe to just go sort of exploring? I usually just do that and just kind of maybe get, rickshaw drivers and just go wherever we want to go. Is that pretty safe for women?
Sure.
Yeah.
I find Kathmandu, of course, I would say, as it sounds like you're very well traveled, as you would in any big city, just kind of, kind of keep your wits about you. But yes, I'd say traveling, especially during the daytime, the hotel is happy to help arrange transportation, and we can, of course, make recommendations as well. There are rickshaws available, and there are many cultural things to see and do, cultural and historical things to see and do in and around Kathmandu. In fact, were you to want to spend an entire day in Bhaktapur, which is about 30 minutes from Kathmandu, you could easily spend a full day there and really kind of enjoy exploring. That's one of the kind of historic artisan centers. So there's that. There's a number of beautiful historic, temples. There are palaces. And there's Tamil, which is the shopping district. So there is quite a lot to see and do. And I guess we're happy to help make some recommendations and help plan some things that might be of interest to you. And then the hotel is, of course, happy to help, book a car, taxis, those things, help you know what a good fair rate is when you're there on your own, because knowing that we're tourists, they sometimes try to charge us a little bit more than they should. So the hotel at Shambhala staff is wonderful, helping to facilitate that as you're there on your own time. But yeah, we're of course happy to help you come up with some ideas and recommendations there.
Awesome, thank you. And so it's fine to just wait and kind of figure that out there, right? It's not something that has to be sort of pre-planned, correct?
That's correct. So anything from, going out to see some of those stupas to going and seeing, the King's Palace, doing the walking tour, those things you can do, kind of on the fly as you arrive. And even things like going down and spending a day in Bhaktapur, you purchase your ticket once you get down there. It's because it's a historic site. So those types of things can be done. Even if you, upon getting back to Kathmandu, decide maybe you want to go and fly down to Pokhara and spend an overnight down there, generally that can be done with very short notice. and sometimes those flights are fairly inexpensive. So you may even want to take a look at that if you have a couple of extra days on the back end. Both Juan and Pokhara are popular destinations, and Pokhara is quite beautiful. So another thing to think about.
Awesome. Is there anything that is like a must do that has to be booked ahead besides the flight? I think we're already booking that over the Himalayas.
I'd say let us know, let Alyssa know if you're planning to partake in that opportunity, the Everest flight. But other than that, most things can be done just honestly with just a little bit of notice once you're here. You know, the museums, the historical things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Did you already discuss about how many U.S. dollars we should bring in order to get through the various visa processes, and then the spending money once you're in there we're not really big spenders?
Sure. So for those of you staying 15 days or less, $25 US is going to be the fee. It never hurts to have a few extra small US dollars with you just in case, you know, maybe another 5 or 10 with you, but it's a $25 visa fee. And then I think it's a good idea to have I would say a minimum of 100, the equivalent of 100 US, just in case. And that can cover anything from buying snacks and beverages as we have opportunities to do so, doing a little bit of shopping. And I think that's generally just a good amount to have on you just in case. So if you're not planning on doing a ton of shopping, that should cover you just fine, and then you can exchange on your way back through the Kathmandu airport should you have any leftover rupees, or maybe even exchange them with someone else who's staying a bit longer.
Okay, and then I'm going through Doha, and I'm a little bit nervous about making this trip by myself. Do you know if there's anybody else? You have the flight plan so that you know if anybody else is going on that same flight?
Is this Kathy?
Yes.
Hi, Kathy. I got your email, and what we can do after this is have a look, and I've made a note to give you an update if there's anyone who's on your same leg. And so just shortly after this call, we will send that over. And Veronica, I think we'll also do that to the broader group as well. Typically, we'll send out one final notice once we've got all the itineraries, just to send off with some reminders about the airport procedures that you'll all expect. And with that, we will usually attach the roster and the flights of those who are also arriving, because many people are thrilled to know that they've got another 10 or 15 people coming on the flight. So Kathy, I'm almost fairly certain there will be some folks going through on the same flight, or if not that, at a minimum, the exact same itinerary, maybe a day or two before. So we'll certainly be prepared for you.
Okay.
And I have flown through Doha before, and it sounds a little bit daunting. It's really not. I know it's new, and if you've not flown through there before, but it's quite. It's not bad to navigate. It's fairly well marked. So I wouldn't. I wouldn't be concerned about your experience there within the airport, and then we'll send out that roster and see, and hopefully we can. Hopefully you'll be able to sync up with at least one person. We'll hope that there's somebody who's flying on that same schedule as you, but I will make sure that goes out to the broader group.
Thank you.
I just looked at mine. I'm going through Doha.
Are you going? Okay, well, it'll be nice. Hopefully you're going on the same one.
Okay. Hey, I have a question too. So is it really not necessary to have backpacks, or is it still better to have backpacks? Like luggage? I
would recommend, keep in mind that that we're going to be doing a fair amount of transfers. Once you get to the airport, we'll be transferring things off and on of buses and vans and things throughout the week. So I would encourage luggage that's going to be easy for you to load off and on vehicles, easy for you to get your things in and out of. So we recommend that people not bring traditional suitcases. That just can be kind of tough for kind of hauling and fitting in. So things like duffel bags work fairly well. And so if you prefer to use something like that, that's great. And if you have a backpack that you'd like to use, that's great too, but you're not needing to haul and carry it long distances. So a lot of folks have found that, like the waterproof North Face type duffel bags are good. I myself use a fairly sturdy two-handled duffel bag, and we're generally able to, unload and load those quite easily. And then I would just ensure that it's something that you are comfortable, getting in and out of hotels and things like that. So.
Okay, thanks.
And one thing, just because it always comes up around packing, that you might want to take note, if you are using a backpack or a duffel, being sure, since we will be getting in and out of those bags fairly often, picking up or having some larger Ziploc bags or some travel zip bags is really helpful to store, your shirts and your socks and divide things up. And that way you really don't have to dismantle the whole setup every time. Because as we mentioned, we will be moving quite a bit for the first few days. And even when you're in the community, it can be really nice to have, a really easy to manage set of stuff, particularly if it's a bigger duffel or a backpack. And that just allows it, makes your life much, much easier.
Agreed.
I have a quick question for you. How many pairs of pants are the average number of people bring? I mean, we're gone 8-9 days, and it's hard to fit 8 or 9 pairs of pants. So can I expect to wear the same thing twice? And mine will dry out too if I hang them over a clothesline. So.
Yes, in fact, we hope you do. That's part of the expedition experience, is all of us getting to know one another's wardrobes really well. As you'll see, most of mine is gray for some reason. No, I will plan to bring with me one pair of dry fit pants that I paint in and do work in every expedition. So I will, whenever I'm working, you're going to see me most likely in the exact same outfit of dry fit shirt and pants that are already stained. And then when I'm finished working, I will clean up a bit and then put on a clean pair of pants, and you'll most likely see me in the same 1 or 2 pairs of pants in the evenings. So my general recommendation is a pair of pants that you are comfortable getting, paint on, dirt on, anything like that, and just work in those anytime we're doing dirty work. And I would have a pair that you can wear in camp and around Chitwan. Chitwan will be really warm. So dry fit is going to keep you comfortable, or anything else that's lightweight. And then I think it doesn't hurt to have a third pair just in case. When you're in and around Kathmandu, denim works great. For this time of year, you might find it a little bit warm during the daytime in the village and in Chitwan. So my personal recommendation would be a pair of jeans and a couple of lightweight pairs of either dry fit or something else should do you just fine. And then maybe keeping a pair tucked away for your travels home that are nice and fresh and clean. That might feel good. But no, you certainly do not need a pair for every day that you're there. Not at all.
Hey, I'll just be happy if my luggage arrives, because in Ghana I didn't have it, so everybody loaned me clothes.
Oh dear. Well, knock on wood, we have not had any.
Got back to the capital.
We haven't had any bags get lost during my expedition season here. We've had one arrive one day late, but let's keep our fingers crossed that everyone's arrives when they should.
And one thing I'll just make a note of on the topic of how many pants, etc., would just be around shoes that kind of fall into the same topic. It's really good. I kind of recommend, if you've got this space, to try and work in about 3 shoes. One is your working boot that you're happy to get muddy, you're happy to hike in, that's a little bit more resilient, maybe water resilient or waterproof. But a boot that you're really comfortable in to spend some time. You won't be hiking into the community, but once there, a lot of opportunities to extend, hike up into different areas, and some of that can be strenuous. So having a really good working boot. Then after work, and you're kind of in camp mode, slipping into maybe a tennis shoe or something a little bit more comfortable that isn't full of mud or dirt, and that if your boots get wet, you could also maybe still work in those tennis shoes or still get around in those tennis shoes. And then also having a backup pair of sandals or tivas or chacos for bathing opportunities, for showers. Also, if you just want a more comfortable kind of campside shoe as well. So if you've got kind of those shoes, that'll more than cover your bases for your feet, which is one of the most important things to keep you happy on this trip, is really taking care of those feet.
Agreed. And that there'll be, we'll have the opportunity to do a little bit of hiking as we're in Makwanpur, going to harvest some wintergreen, which I know will be a really wonderful part of this co-impact sourcing trip. So just to second what Jordan just said, just take good care of your feet.
What is the weather supposed to be, the temperature?
It will be quite warm. So for the April trip, I would plan on what will feel like probably close to summertime weather. Bring layers. I recommend t-shirts that are a dry fit material just to keep you cool and comfortable, and then some things you can layer on in the evening. Bring a hat, sunglasses, sunblock, and then whatever you use to protect yourself from mosquitoes. So in particular in Garambesi, just because of its geographical location, it's quite warm, and then Chitwan will also be quite warm because of the time of year. Kathmandu will be a little bit cooler, but I would definitely plan for, I would say, warm to hot, and that should keep you pretty comfortable. And I would, again, remind you to bring that rain layer just in case. We're not actually in the rainy season, but it's always a good idea to have that with you, whether it be a poncho or a lightweight raincoat that you can just kind of wad up and put in your bag. It's always a good idea to have it with you just in case.
And does it get very cool in the evenings?
It's not going to be cold. I mean, it would be very, very unusual for that. So I think, again, as long as you have some layers with you just in case, but my hunch will be that lightweight pajamas and your sleeping bag, you'll be pretty comfortable. And in fact, some folk may find that they prefer to sleep on their sleeping bag based on just how the weather happens to be that particular day. But I don't anticipate people being chilly at night. That being said, everybody is different. As long as you've got some layers with you, I think you'll be just fine. But for example, I'm not planning on packing like a set of thermals or anything like that with me for these trips.
I do recommend just having a jacket, even if it's tucked in your bag that you might not ever pull out, but just having one sometimes for the mornings or at night or on the road, even as a pillow, is just so good. And with the different altitudes and travelings, there can always be unanticipated moments where we just can't quite forecast the weather. So just always good to have one on hand.
Hey, I use 5-finger shoes. Do you think those are okay for the terrain?
I would be nervous about the bottom. I think in and around camp and Kathmandu, probably great, but I would be nervous having you use those when we're in Makwanpur and anytime we're doing any sort of stuff that's not flat. I'd prefer even just a standard athletic shoe over those for that type of thing, if you've got it. I would just want to make sure that you are able to get traction wherever we are.
I can address that 5-finger. I wore them the entire trip when we went to Guatemala. And there is a very nice waterproof boot that you can get, and it was fabulous in the mud when we were traipsing around Guatemala. That's all I wear is 5-finger, and I can't wear anything else anymore. And they worked just fine for me when I was on that trip.
Okay, thanks.
So do we, Veronica, do we have a list of who's on each of the trips with us?
We do, and that's when Jordan mentioned a bit earlier, we will send out then a list that has folks' flight times on it, and that will include all of your fellow expeditioners on there. So you can have a look through, and in addition to the Facebook page, that will be a great way for you to see who your fellow travelers will be and who you can look forward to spending that week with. So we'll be sending that out shortly.
And does it have the children too?
It does. It's got the names of all of our travelers, whether they be, the doTERRA, folks themselves or family members that they're bringing with them.
I'm sure I'll have a zillion questions once we all hang up.
And that's fine. That's what you're welcome to reach out, either through the Facebook page, through email, or any other means. And we're certainly happy. We're here to help you prepare and help you have a great expedition.
I needed to have someone help me get hooked up with the Facebook page because I'm not a Facebooker, and that's been a frustration for me to not figure out where to go.
And you do have a Facebook profile set up already?
Yes.
That's great. Okay, then we'll be happy to help, won't we, Jordan?
Yep, Kathy, we will.
Okay.
I'll get you Facebooking in no time.
Thank you.
It's a fun read. I have to say, this group has been so not only helpful with one another, but also darn entertaining. So I encourage you to sit back and enjoy reading through it. It's pretty fun.
Oh,
Hey, so Jordan, are you in the tundra? You're wearing a jacket inside.
I am not, but if you recall, I was the guy who mentioned it's always nice to have a jacket on hand.
I know, I was going to say, like, when you're wearing indoors.
Even though it's warm.
You never know when it's going to get really cold in that office.
I almost have a jacket on just about every day. So I err on the side of bundling up. But I'm in Salt Lake City.
So I have a question, Veronica. Speaking of
Yes, ma'am.
Entertaining Facebook posts sorry guys, but about the whole Go Girl thing. Is this really like necessary, or is this for women who can't squat on the squatty potty? Like, what's the deal?
This is an absolute personal preference. If people bring it, it will be the first time in my expedition experience that people have actually made good on that threat to bring and use it. I've never actually had people use them. But please, if that will add to your comfort, please do.
I haven't ordered one. I'm just stumped because I've camped my whole life. I've been in third world countries. I never saw the need, but I just was like, are we trying to pee outside? Are we avoiding the squat? Like, what's the purpose here? Like,
we've got expeditioners with us who maybe have had a different travel experiences than you've had. And so the prospect of using the squatter. No. It's the same style squatter that you will have seen throughout Asia and other places. They're the porcelain ones. And to be frank, some of the roadside places where we will stop, we try to find you guys the tidiest roadside spots we can that are actual, public toilets. Yeah. They're not always going to be as tidy as the ones that we'll have in the village. But that being said, we're not going to be expecting you to dig your own latrine or anything like that. Generally speaking, we'll be using actual, porcelain like base squatters, not only in the village, but then also in our roadside stops. So it sounds like things with which you're quite familiar, and that I think, maybe a few of the ladies will bring those again just to add to their comfort if that's not something with which they're familiar or comfortable. But no, it's a standard squatter that will be familiar to you.
I have no comment. I have nothing to add in any shape or form.
And you guys, I am not above pantomime. If during, if people say, hey, I'm not quite sure how to navigate the squatter, we can all fully clothed pantomime that, and I'm happy. I've done it before. I do it almost every trip, and I'm happy to make myself, useful in that regard. Just let me know.
Right? Squat. There we go. All right. Well, thank you for demystifying that for me.
My pleasure.
So I have a question about being added to the Facebook group.
Okay.
I am not currently on there as far as I know, so can I get added?
Yeah, what was, so I'll have to make sure I pass that off to Alyssa and Tammy, but let me just take notes. So we've got, I know Kathy Vernon wants to get on. What was your name again?
I'm Vanessa Black.
Okay. I will pass that along and we can try and get you added. Sorry about that. I know there's been a lot of shifting and a couple of people who've just recently added. So I know Alyssa and Tammy are eager to get you all in there. When you do hop on, it's a great resource. Just scroll through. You'll find a lot of helpful conversations. And so I'll get you added to that as soon as we can.
Awesome. Thanks.
I don't think I'm on there either. Could you check if Rosie Kovitz is on there?
Rosie. Okay. I will put a note to have that looked into as well, Rosie.
Okay. And what is the name of the Facebook page? Is it just say Nepal or?
So it is a Healing Hands Facebook page. I've got it right here. I'm going to see if this will work. While I've got you on here, I'm copying the link and I'm pasting it in the chat. I am not sure if that will let you get access to it or not, but it is a Healing Hands. It's called HHF Nepal Wintergreen Co-Impact. Even longer than that. But yeah, so that, I don't know if that link works or not.
Well, hopefully we can cut and paste.
Yeah, so I think you could just click on that link and it may do a little something for you. Otherwise, I'll definitely pass your names off or see if I can add you myself. So just after this call, I'll certainly look into that.
Okay.
So on Sunday night, are we on our own or are we doing something as a group? And also on Monday morning, do we meet in the lobby of the hotel at a certain time? And should we check out on our own, or how would that work?
Okay, so let's see. Let me just, I'm making sure that I've got both of these schedules in front of me because they do differ just a little bit. So this is the April trip or the May trip? Can you remind me?
Sorry, it's the April trip.
April trip, great. Okay, so just one moment, please. And I just want to make sure that I'm giving you proper information here. So for Sunday, we've got folks arriving all day. So you'll have, that's a free day there where you can rest up at the hotel. We can make some recommendations on things to see and do. And then Monday the 25th, the balance of the expeditioners arrive. And again, we'll have some programming in place that people can take advantage of if they wish for that Monday. And then that evening, which is Monday the 25th, we will have a welcome dinner there at the hotel, the Shambhala Hotel. So look for some information about some structured activities that you can opt into on the 25th there. And then on Tuesday morning, we will have an early departure all together to head out to the Wintergreen area in Makwampur. So for that April group, it's I look forward to getting to know Kathmandu on the 25th, having dinner together that night, and then departing for Makwampur that next day, the 26th.
And Phil, how it kind of works on expeditions is, since you'll be greeted kind of once you arrive, the minute you connect with the in-country team and Veronica and Chris, what'll start to happen is you'll have little checkpoints along the way. And so you'll make your way to the hotel, and then before you guys all part, you'll typically be going over on a very consistent basis what to expect next and where to meet next. And
absolutely,
some of that will definitely be planned out, and we're gonna, dinner's gonna be at this hour at this place. But those flexible days, as Veronica mentioned, we're gonna have a few things that say, hey, at 2 o'clock, one group's going here, another group's going here. Everyone who wants to come, be down here at 1:30. And so you'll always be in the loop on what's happening, and you'll start to get pulled into that loop really once you arrive. And Veronica and Chris will they'll kind of be there with you along with all the other participants. And so by all of a sudden, by day 2, you've got a real good sense of what to expect, and that routine will continue throughout the trip.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
We'll have available to a general, hard copies of the general overview of the week, with the caveat that as we need to, for various reasons, things might be adjusted there. But just to give you a snapshot that you can have handy, we'll have some of those hard copies available for you as well, if you want to just tuck that away and have that in your day pack with you, just to remind yourself, okay, what's going on today? But again, we will be giving you information early and often. So I think you'll be able to get your bearings quite nicely once you get here.
Thank you.
What are we going to be doing as the service part? You said something about painting. Are we digging holes? Are we nailing things?
So for the portion where that includes the painting, we've got these two beautiful schoolhouses that are being finished. They were rebuilt following the earthquake last April. So we're helping to put the finishing touches on those, and a major component of that is the many, many sets of furniture that have to be prepared so that these kids not only have comfortable classrooms, but comfortable places to sit and do their work. So many sets of furniture, and they will require us to be sanding them, to be have primer applied, and to have some painting done. So generally speaking, that will be one of the big project components. And then as there are any other types of finishing work to do, we might be, getting involved in that sort of activity as well, just to make sure that we're getting that school ready for the kids to take occupancy and start studying there just as soon as they can. So yeah, it'll be a great chance to really contribute to something that those kids will be using on a daily basis once that school is finished.
Cool.
Good stuff. Lots of great questions so far.
I guess we'll be getting, have we already gotten the agenda, or are we getting for the May 1st through 8th? Like, I think she said that we're getting back at noon on Sunday the 8th or something.
I can tell you that right now. Give me just one moment, please. Let's open up that document. So our plan for that is, here we go. Just want to make sure again that I'm not putting the wrong dates, especially since we're being recorded. For the May group, we return to Kathmandu about 12 noon on Saturday the 7th. And so that'll allow ample free time in the afternoon. Generally, that's been a good time for folks for us to take folks to Tamil to do souvenir shopping and such. And then we'll have a closing dinner at Shambhala that evening. That's our hotel where we'll stay the front end of the trip to. And then a majority of folks are flying out starting that next day, Sunday day.
And you have received, or you should have received, a few packets of materials. And if you haven't, shoot Tammy or Alyssa an email, and they've got an email that they can forward along to you with a number of resources, which include the daily itinerary as the trip itinerary, as well as the expedition manual and some final checklists, etc.
Okay.
And again, I'll just reiterate, kind of as we're wrapping up, want to be thoughtful of your time, that this is obviously not the only chance anyone has to ask kind of open-ended questions. The manual and all the materials do answer, obviously, a lot of questions. Also, the orientation slide decks, if you've got those as well, and you just kind of want to scan through some things. But Facebook group, emailing Veronica or myself, Tammy, Alyssa, getting an email to any one of those folks will get you an answer pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
Do we have Veronica's email so that I can ask about what I'm going to have to do when I get to the Doha airport?
And yeah, we'll be sending out I'll be sending it out from my email address, the list of travelers. So it's vshind@gmail, but you'll see an email coming from me, and then you can take a look at that and see if there are fellow travelers on your flight from Doha.
Okay. This has been really nice for you to spend this time with us.
It's so much fun. We've been seeing your names on rosters, and it's so lovely to put faces with names, because then you're a little bit familiar when we actually get to pick you up at the airport there. So we're getting very excited to greet all of you.
Will there be a big banner?
We are having a sign made, so we know you all will be most likely a little bit tired by the time you reach Nepal here. So we will have a nice large sign. Look for us in choice t-shirts. Look for a sign that says doTERRA. And then if you have a t-shirt or ball cap or anything that has the doTERRA logo on it and you'd like to wear that, that's also quite helpful because we'll be looking for those among the travelers that exit the terminal. So we figure with those things in place, we should be able to find one another fairly easily.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Well, I think I have most of my questions answered that I know that I have so far, so I think I'll sign out. Thank you for your time, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.
Great, Kathy. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, any other questions before anyone signs off?
I don't think so. Thanks, guys.
Hey, no problem.
We're excited to meet you. Safe travels, friends. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Let's see. Yeah, I think we've just got stop recording.